Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back on another interesting topic today on Vedic astrology. And today we'll be talking about the planet Mars and its relationship to one's profession. So career forms a very important part in our lives, and we are all very keen to know what career we should be in, and astrologers should be good enough to figure out when they look at a birth chart as to what profession a person would actually be in. And of course, planets do influence what profession a person can be, and there are several ways of finding out what profession a person could be and what's the best profession for him, or what profession a person is already in by various ways. It could be the 6th house, the 7th house, the 11th house, the 10th house, the lord of the 10th house, the lord of the 6th house, the lord of the 7th house. If you look at Gemini astrology, you know, the Amatya Karaka, or even otherwise, if you consider the nakshatras, there could be ways as to what nakshatra your 10th house lord is placed, what nakshatra your 7th house or 6th house lord is placed, what nakshatra your Amatya Karaka is placed, how the Amatya Karaka is placed in your Navansha chart, how the Atma Karaka is placed in the Navamsha chart. Looking at the Dasamsa chart, which is a D10 chart, and where is the lord of the 10th house place in the Dasam. I mean, there are so many ways of figuring out as to what's the best profession. How is moon placed in your nakshatra? Where was moon, in what nakshatra moon was placed at the time of your birth? That will also determine. There are several ways of doing it, and I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to get into as to the planet Mars and what are the related professions. So in case Mars is a planet for you which is very strong in terms of influencing what profession you could be or what you are in, on what you should be, and that's what is going to be the discussion. So what are the related professions to Mars is what we're going to be discussing here. So Mars, as we know, is a very fiery planet. So generally people in whose birth chart Mars has a connection related to their career and profession, they are in administrative fields, and it could be any kind of administration. It could be a city administration, administration at a state level, administration in an army, or administration as an executive, any kind of an executive. And that executive or an administrator could be in the government, could be in the executive, could be in even in judiciary. Although of course Mars is not directly related to judiciary, meaning which judges are not related to Mars. That's an area of Saturn. But any kind of a profession which gives them the authority and administrative power. It could be a private sector, it could be a government sector, and generally you'll see that Mars, since it's very friendly to Sun, so people with a strong Mars are in administrative positions which are related to government in some form or the other. So what a good example could it be, like an army general, which is a government job, and yet it is ruled by Mars, which is related to the army and related to administration. So you know, somebody who is in a high level or a high position in the army or in the police as well, because police services is also ruled by the planet Mars. It comes under the purview of Mars. It's a fire planet, so the profession could be related to anything related to the fire. It could be the fire department. So administrative position in the fire department also would come under the purview of Mars. And even if it's not administrative, the fire direct, because it's an Agni Tattva, fire element. Firemen, you know, you'll see a strong Mars placed in their birth charts. So that's one area which is related to the planet Mars. Now, as far as the profession of being a lawyer or an attorney is concerned, because again, attorneys could be, you know, doing arguments, and they could be confronting other attorneys or lawyers in the courts, and it's about aggression, it's about, you know, the fighting spirit. So law comes under the purview of Mars as well. So you'll see a lot of successful lawyers being influenced by Mars as far as the houses or the factors concerned to or related to their profession is concerned in their birth charts. Or, you know, if you see a growing up young man, you could, as an astrologer, recommend him the area of law, in case, of course, other factors permitting, of course. Just don't come to a conclusion if you see a good place Mars and start recommending all these things. All other factors also have to be taken into consideration. Say, for example, if a person has a strong Mars and he does not have the capability of going for higher studies, obviously he cannot be a lawyer. You know, he could be a soldier. So you have to consider all other factors. But yes, Mars is directly related to administrative jobs, which I just discussed, especially the army and the military and the police and the fire department and the people or lawyers who can, you know, go into a legal fight, so as to say, in a legal battle. They can make very successful lawyers, and Mars is about law as well. So that was one area. And people in the profession of construction also, because Mars is about construction. It's about landed property as well, because Mars is about land and also about construction. So when people in real estate businesses or builders or developers, you'll see a well-placed Mars. But like I said, look at other combinations as well. So if a person is not promised wealth in his birth chart and he has a strong Mars, so you obviously cannot recommend that he should go in the profession of a builder or a developer, because wealth also, or income also, so those houses have to be combined, and to make sure that yes, Mars is going to be giving them good effect if they go on to become a developer or a builder. Because if wealth is not promised, obviously being a developer is not a good profession for him. Then you can look at his other areas and see what he excels in, and recommends him something else. Like, for example, I just gave you, like in a soldier's birth chart, obviously the Mars has to be strong because he's a soldier, but then probably his house of wealth is not well, or is not strong enough. So obviously he cannot go ahead and become a developer or a successful builder, so on and so forth. But yes, the area of construction and the area of, or he can be just a construction worker rather than being a builder. So yes, there is a connection between Mars and construction and building and land. Or he could be in the agricultural field, so you know, a successful agriculturist, because it's associated with Mars, because it's land and agriculture. A successful agriculturist will have a both combination of a strong Mars and agriculture and the house of income and wealth, where he is going to gain a lot of money. But maybe a small farmer who's not having a lot of wealth, of course his Mars may be strong as well as far as his career is concerned, but then the wealth factor is missing. So look at the combinations. Just don't, if you're recommending to your client or even for yourself or any of your close friends or relatives, look at Mars and then combine it by other factors, and then make a recommendation, a final recommendation as to what's the best profession suited for him. Or say, for example, if a person has a strong Mars and his other houses, like the Lagna or any house which is related to health, so if he has serious health problems and a strong Mars, obviously he cannot join the army or the police force, right? And in case there's a problem, a serious problem in his eyesight, for example, if you look at the birth chart, obviously he cannot be a good army soldier or a person or a general, or cannot go for the police or the armed forces. So look at other factors and then combine those, and then see what factors or what professions are best suited for people in whose birth charts Mars forms a very good combination as far as, or Mars becomes a very good planet as far as their career is concerned, and then make a final recommendation. But yes, agriculture is also related to land, and it comes under the purview of Mars. Then of course minerals and mining, because of course it's within then the minerals and mining comes under the purview of Mars because it's related to Earth. That is also a good profession as far as the planet Mars is concerned. And mineral sciences, so you could be a mineral scientist because of Mars. But then you look at his other houses, which could be the houses of higher learning. So how will he learn about sciences or go on to become a professor of mineral sciences or become a big official as far as mineral sciences is concerned, or an expert, unless that house of education is also well developed, so as to say. So again, there has to be a combination. But yes, minerals, mining sciences, mineral sciences, they also come under the purview of Mars. Sometimes geography also is related to the planet Mars. So people who are scientists and who can be experts in the field of geological sciences, that also comes under the purview of Mars. But again, the combination has to be seen as far as their ability to acquire higher knowledge and higher education is concerned as well. Of course, we just discussed that the skill of warfare very, very directly related to Mars. Mars is a skilled warrior. We know that. And they excel in that field. So we just discussed about the profession of army and police and all that, all those areas related to. Now, surgeries is also related to the planet Mars. So a person with a good developed Mars, which is related to their house of profession, can become good surgeons. And but then look at whether they have the capability to acquire higher knowledge and go for a higher medical degree as well. Just don't recommend Mars, if Mars is well placed, to go ahead and become a surgeon, because if he does not have that ability to acquire higher knowledge or go to a medical school and develop that side of his life, then of course you cannot recommend the area of surgery. But Mars is related to surgery, manufacture of weapons, and of course in today's day and age the manufacture of weapons is confined to or restricted rather to the government. In olden days and ages, you could have related somebody who can be skilled in the development of war weapons like swords and javelins and all kinds of weapons used for warfare. But today it's under the restriction of government. So people who can be working in ordnance factories or small arms, large arms factories, in factories which manufacture weapons, you'll see a good combination of Mars related to their profession, along with what other areas. So for example, a person is working in an area or working in a factory which is manufacturing arms, but he's in the area of, say for example, finance, and you'll see there's a combination of Mars and Jupiter here. And he'll be, or if he's an accountant working in an arms factory, then of course you'll see there's a combination of a strong Mars and also Mercury related, because Mercury is related to accounting. So you will see that those planets are influencing his profession. So the combinations are extremely important, but per se Mars has a connection with the manufacture of weapons. So somehow the other they could be related to the area of Mars, which is manufacture of weapons or working in that factory. And then breeding animals, that's also one of the areas where Mars is directly related, in case Mars has a connection with your house of profession or career. They could get into breeding animals, like breeding horses. That's also a direct relationship, horse or even horse riding. Good riders, you'll see generally they have a strong Mars, because Mars is a warrior and warriors are good in horse riding, and it's a martial kind of an art. So either breeding or taking care of horses or animals, or becoming jockeys themselves, or good horse riders. That's also one of the areas where people with a strong Mars related to the houses of profession and career are concerned will have a connection, or you can recommend those, or people who are already in that area. Then another area, very interesting area, is jewelry. Now, not directly jewelry in terms of selling, but manufacture jewelry, because it's about fire. It's fire element. Gold or silver has to be, or especially gold has to be, is a direct connection with Mars, and gold has to be melted through fire and carved into different kinds of jewelry. So people who are goldsmiths, rather, not jewelers, but goldsmiths, because they have to use fire to carve jewelry, and especially gold and copper, which is directly related to Mars. They can also be recommended to go in that. People with that kind of connection where there's a strong Mars, and it's related to their houses of career and profession and their birth charts, and then there's a connection with jewelry, which could be Venus, so Mars-Venus combination here. And but then this is directly related to the making of jewelry, goldsmith, not selling, because that is another area. So making a jewelry, because fire is being used to melt that metal and carve it into jewelry. That again is falling in the purview of Mars. And then sometimes Vastu experts, because what is Vastu? Vastu, of course, is the science which is used, and people who have not watched my earlier video on Vastu, please refer to those. It's a science, it's a astrological science, or a spiritual science, as you can say, which will tell you how to construct a house, which way the direction of the plot or the lot of land should be, or which areas you'll put in the bedroom, the other areas like the living room, the kitchen, so on and so forth, so that the energies could help you while you're living in that house. So that's another science, which is another Vedic science. And since it's about construction, since it is about land, then of course people with a strong Mars can be good Vastu professionals. But once again, caution, don't just recommend anybody with a strong Mars related to the house of profession to become a Vastu professional, because Vastu, again, of course, there's a Mars connection, because it's land and construction, but at the same time there has to be higher learning, because without learning you cannot become a Vastu expert. So there has to be an influence of either Sun or Jupiter or Mercury, you know, these planets which give you the intellect, the intelligence, the higher knowledge, to be able to combine Mars with that particular planet and become a good Vastu expert. So Vastu is directly related to Mars. Why? Again, because it's about construction, it's about land. And sometimes people with a strong Mars related to their house of profession can also become experts in ancient sculpture sciences, because sculpture is also about making something through either clay or through any mineral which comes from the earth. So, and not necessarily ancient, you know, profession related to clay or anything, any kind of mineral which is being used to create that sculpture. So sculpture making, especially people who use the minerals from the earth to carve sculptures, also have a connection with strong Mars, and you'll see there's a connection, or you can recommend people to go in their fields. But again, the combination has to be seen, because again, creating a sculpture is about creativity, so you have to look at that angle as well, as to what are the planets and what the houses are influencing that creativity in that person to be able to become a good sculptor. Although Mars is definitely going to be influencing, because the clay or the mineral used to create the sculpture is coming from the earth. So Mars will be the influencing, along with the other influencing factors or planets or the houses, which can say something about the person's creativity. So this was a little video about Mars and its related professions, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And in the meanwhile, I will recommend subscribe to my channel and check out my website. There is a link below. And I will see you with an interesting topic on Vedic astrology very soon. Goodbye.